Everybody's got a price, it's the $1 million man. Podcast in demand. Understand, everybody's got a price. $1 million man. Everybody's got a price. $1 million man. Everybody's got a pod, it's the $1 million man. Podcast in demand. Understand, everybody's got a price. $1 million man. Everybody's got a price.
What's up, everybody? It's Marcus D'Angelo, and we are back for another episode of Everybody's Got a Pod. And of course, I can never do it without the man himself, WWE Hall of Famer, the $1 million champion, Ted DiBiase. What's going on, brother?
Hey, Marcus, it's you, buddy. How's the weather there?
Man, you can see I'm a little bit bundled up. That's because my basement is always freezing, but it snowed last night. I thought it was going to start warming up in here.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. You know,
how's everything in Mississippi?
Last time I checked, we're expecting. I've got on my sweatsuit here. You know, you're wearing
my beanie.
A beanie. No beanie needed here. I mean, they were saying that they were expecting it to be in the 70s, and I think one. Gosh, let me look at it real quick right here.
Summer's on the way, though,
huh? Right now, it is 74 degrees in Clinton, Mississippi, and I guess that's the high, and they're expecting some rain. So,
well, I'm officially jealous. You know, it's freezing up here. I saw snow on the ground this morning, so I'm ready for spring and summer to really kind of get into full swing around here.
So tomorrow is Thursday. The high tomorrow is 83.
Oh, that's t-shirt and shorts weather, baby.
And possible 6% chance of rain. The next day, 79. On Friday is the high. Saturday, the high is 75. And the low is 66. Man, that's t-shirt weather in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, man. It's anymore. If it gets to be 55 around here, everybody's out there with their t-shirt on, some shorts. But man, hey, look, the changing weather is one reason it's the most wonderful time of the year. The other reason it's the most wonderful time of the year, Ted, is because it's WrestleMania season. I know that you are going to be out in Vegas here in April. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be out in Vegas in April. So
really?
Yeah, I'll be out there with you, so you and I can go out there and have some fun. We'll go gambling. We'll have a good time while we're there. WrestleCon is one of the biggest events of the year. I know that you're looking forward to seeing your fans there. I'm certainly looking forward to seeing folks, our listeners out there, and getting to meet people and stuff. So it's going to be a good time. And today, Ted, with it being WrestleMania season, you and I are looking back 35 years to WrestleMania 6, where you had a match with Jake the Snake Roberts in the Toronto Sky Dome.
Yeah.
And, brother, it was the match of the night.
Tell you what, brother, I'll say it for you. We stole the damn show.
Yes, you certainly did. You know, a lot of people talk about the moment between Warrior and Hogan, but when it comes to an actual match, a wrestling match, hard to do much better than what you and Jake did out there.
Yeah.
You and Jake made magic out there, and what's funny is I just spoke to Jake about this exact thing. That's going to be the upcoming episode of the Snake Pit. It comes out this coming Tuesday, so give that a listen, guys. But when I spoke to Jake about it, I was like, Jake, you guys are out there in front of 67,000 fans, and it's WrestleMania. It's the biggest night of the year, the biggest event in all of professional wrestling. Did you and Ted go over anything before you guys went out there, like talk about the match or what you wanted to do? And he was like, nope, we just went out there and did it. So incredible.
Yeah. The only thing you got to remember is the finish they won. So
that's it. Man, you guys nailed it, and I can't wait to talk about it. Of course, WrestleMania season also means it's Hall of Fame season, Ted. And just a couple days ago, the natural disasters, earthquake and typhoon, were announced as being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Of course, John Tenta has passed away, but Fred Ottman is still out there, and really great to see those two get honored. I know that you worked with them before. What do you have to say about the natural disasters going into the Hall of Fame?
For guys their size, usually you get guys that big, they don't move very well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
they just don't, because they're just so big, and fat. but those guys for their size moved well, so no complaints. It was enjoyable.
Man, a couple really talented guys and guys who left like a really indelible mark on professional wrestling. Man, they're super overdue to go into the Hall of Fame, aren't they?
Yeah, I would think.
I'm psyched for them. I'm psyched for their families. It's such a big honor. And yeah, man, one of the greatest tag teams, in my estimation, one of the greatest tag teams of the golden era finally getting to go in. So, guys, stay tuned for that. It's going to be a hell of a ceremony. But all right, Ted, let's go ahead and dig into WrestleMania 6 here. Before we talk about the match in Toronto, though, let's discuss the way that the company got there and some of the happenings in and around professional wrestling at the time. The big news of the period is that the WWF is looking to bring in Mike Tyson as a special guest referee for one of the NBC specials. Again, this is early 1990. Mike
Right.
Tyson at this time is the champion,
Yeah.
and he's like considered one of the most dangerous human beings on the face of the planet. Super polarizing. So everything sounds great, man. What a huge coup for the WWF, but things don't quite go as planned. In late February of 1990, Buster Douglas is going to knock out Mike Tyson in the Tokyo Dome in February 1990. And that's despite 42-1 odds against Buster Douglas. He knocks Mike Tyson out. The entire world is shocked. And as a result, Mike Tyson is going to withdraw from the WWF booking, and Buster Douglas gets it instead. Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy. And I had forgotten all of that.
Man, Mike Tyson, the prospect of having Mike Tyson, the scariest human being on the planet at that time, come into the company, I mean, pretty big for wrestling overall, isn't it?
Yeah, it would be. Absolutely.
And Mike, he's such a character where it's like he talks about eating people's children and stuff in his promos leading up to these matches. And he's like this vicious killer of a guy, kind of tailor-made for wrestling, isn't he?
Well, yeah. Well, obviously Mike Tyson was a fan of ours, and it's kind of like, because the one thing that seemed to be missing in boxing was a little more color.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, well, I'm going to go out there and I think I'm going to beat him. Go cut a real promo, bud. Let it fly.
Mike certainly did. He wasn't scared to say whatever he wanted. Like, he made it sound like he wasn't just going to fight these guys. He was going to attempt to kill them in the ring. So it was like destination television for everybody. But again, Buster Douglas, he knocks Mike Tyson out in the Tokyo Dome. So Buster Douglas gets the gig. Ted, allegedly, Buster is going to receive $100,000 for his small investment in the WWF. It's a one-night engagement, $100,000, nice chunk of change for one night's work. And I asked Jake about this. Now I'll ask you, do you see the value in paying a guy that kind of money for one night's work just because of his name equity? Or were you of the mindset that money would have been better spent on the boys in the locker room?
Better spent on the boys in the locker room.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, maybe because of the sensationalism of okay, here the world champion boxer is going to do a wrestling event. I mean, I get that, but $100,000.
Yeah.
But I could see Vince doing that, and you know why? Ego.
Yeah.
I can afford it, so ego. I don't know.
I think that's it. And Vince is no dummy. He's a marketing guy. So he knows that Buster Douglas's name is in all the newspapers and he's on the cover of Sports Illustrated, I assume. He knocked out Mike Tyson. But man, you might make some headlines, but it's such a temporary fix where hypothetically, if you were to take that $100,000 and spread it out among the boys in the locker room, boy, you'd have a lot of really happy employees heading into WrestleMania, right?
Yeah, but and again, I gotta be. I could see it. Here's a guy that beats the guy that nobody thought was beatable, Mike Tyson, and then you're going to get him to do something in the WWE. Yeah, I'm afraid paying him $100,000. Because at that time that was huge.
Yeah,
I mean,
gotta admit.
that was sports news everywhere. It wasn't just in the wrestling world; it was everywhere. And to get him to come and be a part of our show was, you know,
His name was red hot at that time. So, I mean, certainly see the value from a marketing standpoint.
and I've always said this about Vince. Vince's greatest gift was marketing.
Yes, sir.
He knew he took wrestling and he marketed wrestling like nobody else before and nobody since.
Never.
I mean, it's kind of like we wouldn't be doing this right now. Had wrestling just stayed, I'll be honest with you, if wrestling had stayed regional and territorial, I think by now it might be gone.
But there's a good chance. Yeah.
There's so much out there competing for the entertainment dollar and the sports that just wrestling as it used to be, might not have been enough. But he made it, bigger than it ever was.
And now you look at the WWE today, man, they're doing record numbers in everything. They're more profitable now than they ever were, including when Hulkamania was running wild, including Stone Cold Steve Austin. The numbers might not be as big as far as viewership, but man, they're yanking in crazy amounts of money every year. So
Yeah,
good for them. They built something big.
absolutely.
Now, Ted, back during the Royal Rumble of 1990, Hogan and Warrior are going to touch for the first time. And while their interaction was brief, the fans definitely responded. It's also reported at this time that on the house shows, the crowds are responding way better to Warrior than they are to Hogan. And in some instances, Hogan is actually getting booed while Warrior's getting cheered out there on these shows. Ted, what do you think about a company taking their two top baby faces and putting them against each other in a match? I mean, ordinarily the formula is killer heel, big baby face, and here's the clash. But now it's like you're kind of asking the audience to pick, right?
Yeah, I guess you are. And again, if you want to say that the Warrior won, the only reason the Warrior would win in that thing in terms of popularity is because Hulk had been there already.
Yeah.
He had been there. I mean, Hulk Hogan was the wrestler who Vince built the business on.
Well, so I do want to ask Ted. It's clear that Vince there's a shift in his mindset, as far as like the direction that he wants to take his company in at this point. To you, in 1990, obviously the Hulkamania thing started in 1984, so it's been about 6 years that this has been going on. To you, do you feel that the Hulkamania thing had run its course by this time, and that's why the fans were beginning to reject Hulk in favor of Warrior?
I would say so. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I mean, my gosh, what a run Hulk had.
And again, there's a formula. It's like the Rocky movie where Hulk Hogan is Rocky, and you bring in a big killer heel, and there's some adversity, but good prevails in the end. That's been the story for Hulk Hogan for 6 straight years. There's only so many times you can go see the Rocky movie, right?
Right. Yeah. Really.
Well, let's move on to you and Jake. You guys have been working together for the better part of a year, and that's due to Jake's injury. And we're getting close to the blow-off here. We covered on our Royal Rumble episode that he had stolen the $1 million belt, and now you're on a mission to reclaim it. So what you're going to do, Ted, is you're going to turn to the Doctor of Style, Slick, and he's going to help you get the belt back. Slick was the manager for the Twin Towers, Big Boss Man, and Akeem. Ted, I don't know that we've ever talked about the Slickster. Do you have any memories of the guy?
Not much. I mean, just professionally, he was a good enough guy, but it wasn't. I mean, we were not, we didn't hang out together or anything like that. But I mean, hey, I liked him. Everybody liked him.
He's a character, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, funny. Yeah, a lot of good for a lot of laughs in the dressing room too. He was a funny guy.
I think he's underrated as a manager too. Most people always say, "Oh, Bobby Heenan was the greatest of the era," or whoever else. There's always the same names that tend to come up.
I will say, without a doubt that Bobby Heenan was the greatest manager that I ever saw.
Hard to deny it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Quick-witted and it just a heat magnet too.
Oh, yeah.
Well, in February 1990, the Big Boss Man is going to get the better of Jake in the ring, and he's going to handcuff him to the ropes. You will then instruct the Boss Man to put his hand into the bag and grab the $1 million title back for you, as he has been paid to do so. Slick had already been paid in the story, and what they were trying to spell out was that he was trying to cheat the Boss Man out of his payday. So that's where we're going to drop in with our only clip this week. It's you guys on the Brother Love Show. This is a moment that fans still talk about all these years later. It's a really cool one. Let's have a look.
Just afraid to stick your hand in that bag and get my belt. So if you're scared, just say scared. Look at my eyes, boy. Do I look like a man that's scared of anything? Well, let me tell you something. I'm not scared of any beast, man or not, and I especially ain't scared of you. I tell you what, boy, I'm going to show you what scared is. I'm going to show you what afraid.
What's he doing? He's going in the bag. Big Boss Man is going in the bag. He has the $1 million.
This is what your money bought and paid for. Well, if you want it, you're going to have to get it the old-fashioned way. You're going to have to earn it. What? Slick, what's he doing? What's he doing? I'm only paid for that. I may be a lot of things, boy, but I can't be bought, and I sure ain't no thief.
Whoa. The Boss Man is going back to the ring area.
Get him back here, Slick. Get him back here.
Wait a minute. Boss Man. Where's he going?
That's my property,
What's he gonna
Slick.
do to take
I've already
this
paid you.
Hey, listen to me. I'm going to handle everything. Boss Man, what are you doing? Come back here. Come back, brother. I can't be. There's the key to the handcuffs.
No!
I can't believe that the Boss Man. Boss Man, listen to me now. Look at this. He actually handed Jake the Snake the key to the handcuffs. Boss Man can't be
Back here, Slick.
There's something DiBiase's money can't buy. Hey, brother, come here. What are you doing? No, listen to me. I mean, is that gratitude or what? Jake the Snake gets back. Damien.
All right. There it was. 35 years later. Do you remember that moment?
Yeah. And you know, and the other thing that kind of hurts is I look in the mirror now and I say, oh gosh, you know, and man, brother, I was in good shape.
Well, let me say, Ted, for 35 years after,
I had them big traps, man.
you did look good. Yeah. You know, and I was actually watching the WrestleMania match as I was kind of doing research for this. I was like, damn, Ted looks pretty jacked. He's got like good pecs, good traps.
Yeah, I did. Man, it's like, you know, I had to do that. You know, so you know, it was like a requirement back then.
Mm-hmm. Good tan too. You look good there. But let me say, man, it's 35 years later. You're still looking pretty good, pal.
Yeah. I'll give you a little bit more. You know, I'll give you some more money, pal.
Yeah, I just heard my PayPal ding.
Put me over.
Well, there's a few things that stuck out to me about that segment. For one thing, if you had brought some shampoo, you could have taken a damn shower while the Boss Man was shouting at you. Oh my goodness!
Oh my gosh,
it was flying.
I know it.
You didn't wipe your face though. You stayed in the damn pocket that whole time and just stayed in character. Good on you, brother. But man, you know, the other thing that really sticks out to me is that this is a babyface turn for the Boss Man. He's a monster. He's a big guy, and you know, as a worker, he's deceptively quick and agile inside the ring. For a man his size. So a couple things here. First of all, what did you think about the Big Boss Man and the fact that this guy could go the way that he could at his size?
Oh, I love the guy. I mean, again, you just said it all. Here's this great big guy, and he can move, and he's real mobile.
But man, it's interesting to see a guy his size, because again, this guy's massive. He had that huge rivalry with Hulk Hogan just a few years earlier, and it's strange to me to see him turning babyface here. I don't know. I sort of like him as a heel, but I think there's an argument to be made that kids would see value in him as a babyface. What do you think?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like that's the thing, the versatility. That's what you've got to have in this business. Is like, it's like you don't want to be. I don't know how to say one dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, as long as he's doing that, he's okay. But there's no hope for him going the other way.
Now, Ted, you had established a lot of ill will yourself. Do you think that if Vince had said to you, "Hey, coming out of WrestleMania 6, I think I want to turn you babyface," do you think that it's something that you could have pulled off after all the evil shit you'd been doing for however 3 years?
Yeah, there's always a way.
Yeah.
There's always a way. Yeah, yeah, sure. I don't know what that way would be, but if you do it the right way, there's always a way to change a guy. To make from in one night to go from being the biggest, baddest heel there ever was to being loved by everybody.
For my money, it's almost like you would either have to start coming out and handing the fans your money, or you'd have to go broke and get some sympathy from the fans as a result. That's kind of like the only way to do it, right?
Or like I don't know. I don't think I ever was a babyface for the WWE, was I?
Never. Which is why, Undertaker said that Jake was the greatest heel of all time. To me, I think it's you, just because you had such a sustained run as a heel where it was like, there was never any ambiguity. You were supposed to boo Ted DiBiase.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I would even say it was a toss up with me and Jake.
Yeah.
Again, both of our backgrounds. We grew up in the business, loved the business, and yeah. So
yeah, I think it could go either way. Okay, guys, let's hit the pause button on the show real quick to talk about our fantastic sponsor. Of course, I'm talking about the guys that we all know and love. We're talking about Blue Chew. Ever since we started talking about Blue Chew here on Everybody's Got a Pod, the question keeps coming up from people, does Blue Chew work? Well, look, if you're asking that question, we want you to know that Blue Chew is putting their money where their mouth is by giving you a month for free. Guys, Blue Chew is an online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but at a fraction of the cost and in a chewable form. The process is simple. All you've got to do is sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Blue Chew tablets are made in the USA and prepared and shipped directly to your door. And if you want to know the best part, here it is. It's all done online. So what that means is you can forget about all the visits to the doctor's office. You can forget about having to have those awkward conversations, or how about the worst part, waiting in line at the pharmacy. Skip all of it with a little help from Blue Chew. You can take them anytime, day or night, so that you can plan ahead or be ready when an opportunity arises. And what do you stand to lose? You can try it for free for a month, and we think that you're going to love it and your partner's going to love it. You could be missing out on the best sex of your life without even knowing it, just because you haven't given this a shot. It's a free service. Why not just try it? And if you don't like it, okay, forget it. You don't have to try it ever again. We always say that first impressions are important, but how about lasting impressions? Build up your confidence with Blue Chew, and they're giving you confidence where it counts the very most. Guys, Blue Chew wants men rock hard. That's what they tell me. That's their mission. They will not stop until every man is bricked up like a brick house, till every tent is pitched, till every rod is raised. Discover your options right now at BlueChew.com. And guys, we've got a special deal for you, our listeners. Again, you can try Blue Chew free. All you've got to do is use our promo code EGAP at checkout, and then just pay $5 shipping. That's it. Just go to BlueChew.com, use our promo code EGAP to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we want to thank Blue Chew for sponsoring Everybody's Got a Pod. But I also did want to point out this babyface turn for the Boss Man is taking place on the Brother Love show, and the Brother Love show became kind of a central location for big creative events in the WWF during this period. Ted, Bruce Prichard, his Brother Love, and his ability to get stories over to the WWF audience. What did you think?
He was good. He was good, and Bruce and I, our friendship went back to when I first met Bruce. He was, he's from Houston, Texas, and he was, I guess he was like Paul Bosch's right-hand man.
He was kind of a gopher for Paul Bosch and Bill Watts.
Yeah, and I remember, there were a lot of nights when I, we would work Houston, and I'd go out with Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
Go get something to eat and have a few beers and all that stuff, and then one day, I told him, well, I'm getting ready to go back to Japan. And he says, I'm getting ready to go to New York, see about getting a job. I said, really? I said, well, hey, throw my name out there and let them know I'm available. The rest is history.
And let me say, Bruce has gone on record as saying that you were one of the funnest guys to go out with back in the day. You mentioned that you would go out with him in the Mid-South territory. He's like, boy, did I have a lot of fun with Ted. And then he amended it. And he was like, but then Ted found God and things changed.
Well, and that's true. That's the truth. So.
Yeah. Now, Bruce is considered by a lot of people to be one of the best creative minds ever in wrestling. Would you? I mean, man, what a incline for him in his career. He was a gopher for Paul Bosch and Bill Watts. Worked his ass off, worked his way up, and now he's at kind of the right hand man for Vince McMahon, and he's coming up with a lot of creative. Would you agree with that assessment of Bruce? That,
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, and I'll go so far as to, like, when I was Bruce produced. Like all those vignettes that they saw of me before I ever stepped foot in the ring, before they ever saw me in a pair of wrestling tights and boots. Mm-hmm. They kept showing these vignettes, about, me kicking all the kids out of the swimming pool and kicking the honeymoon couple out of the best, obviously. Like I want the finest, the finest room in this hotel. Well, that would be the honeymoon suite. And I said, oh yeah, well, I lay down the money, and they told the honeymooners getting out of there, and I take over the suite. But Bruce helped produce all of those vignettes.
I don't think that we've often enough given Bruce his flowers here on the show, but like to your point, Ted, yep, you executed the $1 Million Man to perfection. But before you ever set foot on camera, Bruce helped to set the table for that whole thing. Because
he did. Bruce was there for all those vignettes that I did, and kind of coached me when I needed to be coached. Like, how would that look? Yeah, he's and a good guy. He's back working for him, isn't he?
Oh yeah, he's still with the company, and I'm sure that he'll be out in Vegas when you and I are there
for a while. And I don't know what that was all about. I have no idea.
I think Bruce experienced some burnout, and there was an incident backstage at one point, and he was let go. And so it was whatever. He was gone for a handful of years, and then made his return. I believe it was in 2018 or 2019, and he's been there ever since.
Yeah.
Well, all right, let's get to WrestleMania 6. That's our main event for the show here today. It took place again in Toronto, Canada on April 6, 1990. This was the first ever WrestleMania to take place outside of the United States. And man, there's over 67,000 fans in attendance. Ted, Kevin Nash very famously said at one point that in this era, before guaranteed contracts, the Mania payoff often dictated how good of a year you were going to have as a wrestler in the WWF. Would you agree with that the WrestleMania payoffs kind of set the stage for what the rest of your year would look like?
I don't know if I would totally agree with it, but there's some truth to that.
Think about the pressure involved in that. You said that there's some truth to that. Jake said, yeah, I think that Kevin Nash is onto something there. but think about the pressure involved. You've got 70,000 fans here watching you. It's the biggest show, not just in America, not just in Canada, not just in North America, but in the world. And okay, you're out there and you're trying to earn as much money as you possibly can for this payoff as well. A lot of pressure, right?
Yeah. But when you're in the midst of that, you don't think about it.
No.
I mean, you don't think about all of that. All you're concentrated on is what that match is. I was more concerned about you're thinking about what you have to do more than you're thinking about the crowd.
Well, I do want to ask, though, while we are here kind of talking about coming out in front of this many people, again, it's close to 70,000 here in the Sky Dome in Toronto. Ted, most of us as human beings will never walk out in front of 70,000 people and have all eyes on us.
Yeah.
Ted, what can you tell us about that experience, walking out in front of all those people?
Brother, I mean, it is what it is. It's a thrill, that's for sure. I mean, and of course, if you're the heel, they're going to boo you out of the building, and if you're the babyface, they're going to cheer you on. And of course, it was like I was always looking for the boos because that's who I was.
Mm-hmm.
And I got them.
Usually, hey, as long as they're reacting, it's a good thing. So yeah, the boos, bring them on. Man, how long before the actual show do you think you would get into the city to work for WrestleMania? Because I'm thinking of obligations like press and appearances, interviews. Are you there like all week long?
No, I mean, like promos for shows like that were done back in, I can't remember now. Like sometimes a lot of promos were done at an event. Gene Okerlund would be there, and that's where all the talent from both sides, babyface and heel, were there, and you would do your promos. Like back then, it was like they would do the TV. Now they do it, I guess, every week.
Mm-hmm.
Every week it's live. Well, back then they would do three weeks of television at a time. And all the interviews that would go along with those shows, and you would do all those interviews at an event like that. Back in a room with Gene Okerlund. So
a lot of the work had already been done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Ted, this card at WrestleMania, it's got 16 matches on it, and the match between you and Jake is going to be right at around 12 minutes, and of course, you're going to win the match by count out and take back your $1 million title. Ted, as we said, by all accounts, this is the best match on the show from an in-ring perspective. The only criticism I've ever heard about this match from some fans is that they'll say that they wish it had been more of a decisive finish. Either you pin Jake or Jake pins you instead of a count out. But the count out gimmick it's a pretty good way to get some heat, right?
Yeah.
You get to keep your heat, and then Jake, he's going to hit you with the DDT afterwards. So it's like, the fans get sent home happy. I did hear one interesting account of this, and something that somebody suggested that it could have happened is that would it have been more satisfying if Jake had gotten a clean victory? And the thing is, for the $1 million belt, what if Jake got the clean victory and destroyed the $1 million belt afterwards? Do you think that visual and all that would have been better, or do you like the idea of the count out finish and the way that it went?
I think the way that it went was good enough. I mean, nobody was gonna. I'm gonna tell you right now, nobody was gonna destroy that belt, because that belt. Now this is 1988 when they had it made. It was worth $40,000.
Yep.
All the stones in the belt are cubic zirconium, which, I didn't know what that was. And my wife said they're almost diamonds. And so like I think there's 700 stones in the belt, at $50 a piece. Well, there's 35 grand right there.
I didn't even think about that angle of it. Like the fact that the belt is so valuable, you wouldn't want to destroy that damn thing and have these, cubic zirconium diamonds falling across the ring.
No.
Yeah, no way. All right, so we're gonna wrap this one up on this question. Finally, the main event of the evening, of course, saw Hulk Hogan versus the Warrior wrestle in a perfectly laid out, very choreographed match designed to protect both combatants. Prior to the pay-per-view in Toronto and apparently up in Connecticut in a ring that they had put together, Warrior and Hogan worked on this match with Pat Patterson for days, going over kind of the ins and outs. So like when we say that this match is choreographed, every beat of this match was completely laid out and put together, and it goes 22 minutes and 51 seconds. For context for the listeners, and you'll hear me talk about this on the Snake Pit if you're listening to that too. On the way to this, Jake Roberts was tag teaming with the Warrior against Ted DiBiase and Akeem at the house shows. Apparently, in these matches, the Warrior would come in for 30 seconds during the shine, tag out. Jake would take all the heat, and then 30-second comeback for Warrior, and then the finish. So for those of you who suck at math, that's 1 full minute that the Warrior was working on these house shows. And that tells you a lot about the Warrior, because he was not capable of having a long match. He was really only good in spurts. Here he's going 22 minutes, and they took days and days to lay out this match in order for him to be able to pull it off. There is something interesting when it comes to this match as well. It's a protected finish. Hogan is going to kick out at 3.5, just as the title is going to be awarded to Warrior. So it's Hogan almost got out of it. And Hulk apparently had issues with doing business here with Warrior, especially after the fact, saying that Warrior was not ready to lead the company into the future. Now, look, I know that we can all look back, with the benefit of hindsight, and Hulk was right. The Warriors didn't do great. But Ted, as far as you were concerned, is this kind of simple jealousy from Hogan after being supplanted? Like he's the guy, and now it's very clear that Vince is going in another direction.
No, I don't think it's that at all, because everything that Hulk said was true.
Okay.
I mean, this guy, unless he had somebody like Hulk or me in the ring to lead him around by the nose, he didn't know what he was doing. He couldn't call a match. Here's a guy that's being put in a main event situation, basically because he had a big, beautiful body that I think Vince was in love with. Mm-hmm. And Vince's ego going, I'm going to prove that I can make a star out of anybody. And that was his guy. And he made a star out of him, but it was a short-lived run.
It was, and things had changed. I don't know if the wrestling business as a whole was changing, if fans were turned off by Hulk Hogan no longer being the champion. Obviously, we discussed the notion that maybe Hulkamania had met its end by now. So who knows? Maybe the business was cooling off at the time in Warrior's defense, if there can be one. But
again, well, and I think even Hulk would tell you. It's kind of like. He was he knew his gimmick,
mm-hmm.
and he knew what like Hulk Hogan was the guy he was supposed to be, and he and Hulk was not a great technical wrestler, but he knew how to work.
Yes,
He knew, you listen to the crowd, and the crowd will tell you what you're supposed to do if you listen, and I don't know, that's hard to explain.
Hogan could tell a story where, Warrior was more like, if you're watching an action movie and it's just full of explosions, it's like, hey man, all these explosions, they're incredible. This is fun to see, but there's no substance behind it. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't have said that better. Exactly. No substance there. No, just, when you've seen him, when you've seen him once, you've seen everything he can do. And that was very little. You can't just go out there and do the same thing every stinking night. Yeah. Eventually the people are going to like, what do I remember the most about the Warrior? That he ran around to the ring, and he ran around the ring, and he got in the ring, and he hit the ropes, and howled at the moon.
Now this will be our last question, and Ted, I want you to try to be objective here. I know that you have your personal thoughts and feelings on Warrior, but I'm just curious how you would do this, and I'll tell you how Jake answered this question because I asked him to. Hypothetically, if you were the booker at the time, and you see what's happening with Warrior on these house shows, where Hogan is getting booed, Warrior's getting these crazy, rabid fan reactions on these house shows. If you were the booker and you saw the way the audience was reacting to Jim, would you have put the belt on Warrior, the WWF Championship on Warrior, just because of the way that the fans were reacting to him?
I don't think so. I mean, because I'm old school, and like Harley Race it was an NWA World Champion. Jack Briscoe was an NWA World Champion. I could name several, but they all were great workers. The Warrior didn't know how to do shit. He could hit the ropes. He could shake the ropes, but unless there was somebody else in the ring to tell him what to do, he was helpless.
And so he had this 22-minute match with Hogan, as we discussed, and the whole thing was very, very laid out. That's not a sustainable practice. So I think a lot of fans might hear that and say, like, well, why don't they just go over all of his matches? Well, he's going to be making the towns, pal. So are you telling me that he's going to be getting to the building, 3 hours early so that he can go over the entire match and choreograph it?
No, and that's my argument. The guy he didn't know how to work, and he never learned how to work. And again, I'm sorry, Vince, thank you so much for all you've done for me, but my opinion has always been that you made the Warrior champion just to prove that you could make anybody the champion.
Man, this was a really fun episode. I appreciate you answering all the questions and looking back 35 years to one of the biggest events ever in the history of the WWF. Man, can you believe it's been 35 years, Ted?
Wow. That it's like, I want to say it seems like it was yesterday, but
maybe more like 3 or 4 days ago.
Yeah. But no, and again, people ask me all the time, they go, oh, okay, what was your favorite match of all time? I said, it's like I wrestled too many times to say that I had one match that, it's kind of like when I wrestled Harley Race and he was the NWA World Champion and we went an hour to a draw in St. Louis. That was a milestone in my career. But my match with Jake, it's another one of those that's right at the top of the list. And I believe that we were able to have that match because of our background, because we understood the psychology of pro wrestling and grew up in it, and we're all about it, and it's kind of like, and it's like, it's like you're not, I wasn't trying to outmaneuver him or make myself look better. We were in there to do what we were there to do, and we did. And we did very well.
There was no selfishness between the two of you, and I think that's kind of what set the match apart. Was you guys were like, okay, what's the best match that we can have? Not what's best for me out there.
Yeah.
What's the best match that we can put on? And it showed. You guys, again, match of the night, beyond a doubt.
Yeah.
Man, Ted, I love talking about WrestleMania, and we're not done. Next week, instead, we're going to be looking back 30 years, 5 years after this. All of a sudden, you're a manager in the WWF, and it's WrestleMania 11. And you guys, there's a NFL Hall of Famer involved by the name of Lawrence Taylor, and you're right in the thick of the action there in the main event with Bam Bam Bigelow. So we'll be talking about all of it, brother.
All right, my friend. That sounds good.
All right.
But before I go, I just got to remind all of you fans that everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man.
We'll see you guys next time right here on Everybody's Got a Pod.
$1 Million dreams, tell them all good night. Everybody's got a pod.